OS and FW presentations by John Bauer. Initial Windows servers. Initial release July 27th, 1993. A brand name for servers-oriented release of the Windows NT operating system OS. Newest is Windows Server 2005, released on November 1st, 2024, which is the newest version of Windows servers and is always running, and you want to keep that up to date. And these are some of the key nuances. Windows servers are very different. They're very closed off and more GUI friendly. Pay-as-you-go subscription, it's a good way to run a firewall in the background, always prioritize the latest, things with this. So I recommend keeping security up to date, patches up to date. Great for web hosting, integrated cloud, and beginner friendly for doing server based things and teaching the basics of running Windows and running a server. Things that come with that would be the Windows Firewall, officially called Microsoft Defender in Windows 10 version 2004 update. And the latest is a firewall component of Microsoft Windows. The first release was with Windows XP. It's also known as the Internet Connection Firewall, basically a basic firewall that you can't IP block, or you IP block and all that, but you have to pick certain networks to be on. As I say, there's 3 profiles to this. One of 3 profiles active automatically for each network interface. So public is basically the assuming that you're shared with the world, and this is most restrictive. Less connections can be happening during this, and you can keep it safe from others. Private's assuming that the network is isolated from the internet, meaning no outside connections. There's no internet connections going in or out, and this also allows, it's assuming that that's that, but allows for more inbound connections than public. Domain profile is the least restrictive, and it allows for more inbound connections to allow more file sharing, so you can share between computers and share between that. And it's very open to that and helps with that. My recommendations, the traffic can be filtered on several criteria, very simple to use. It only comes with Windows, no Linux, no other things with it. And Windows 2000 servers, it was its first release to initial activate Active Directories and DNS servers and DHCP servers and group privacy. So very simple. It's very built to each of the things and very factored in. As we move on, Ubuntu, open source software, initial release was 20th of October 2004. Has many different types like server, desktop, but the main one we're going to focus on is server. Ubuntu is named after the Nigerian philosopher of Ubuntu, humanity to others. The operating system is developed by a British company in Connaught. It's free to build your own firewall in it. Can be hard to use if not knowing code. It's very needy for Linux admins, and it's very free to customize the settings though. And Ubuntu is very secure by default, and you need more. You can detect what it is, and one of the things that it uses leading to that is the IP tables. So this can secure more connections, and what an IP table is a firewall installed by default on all official Ubuntu distributions. Ubuntu comes with UVI command, a program for managing the IP tables firewall easily. It can edit in which the TCP and which connections are free to connect to the servers, and allows for you to audit who's coming in, what's coming in, and where. My recommendations is it's a very simple tool, but you need to know a lot of command code, needs different commands to change the settings, has many different features, like you could block TCP, different IPs, and you could set direct commands, but you have to go through many different orientations of code to do this. So overall, it takes time to figure out and do. And slowly you have to figure out which connection is the best connection for all of this. And which connections you don't want open, which connections you want closed. It has many different features for this operations of firewalls. So Ubuntu versus Windows servers. What are the differences? And let's talk about which one's the best, what's the pros, what are some of the cons, and where we can look. So Ubuntu's architecture, let's look. Ubuntu's centered around the Linux kernel, free open source software, highly secure against malware and cybersecurity threats, large community support that can answer commonly asked questions. So many people use it, and many use that. And you do have to have command line operations. So that's kind of, you can go out and you can scour and look. User experience requires a lot of relatively experienced Linux administrator for this. So you do have to have someone who's on hand with experience to understand this. Database support is MySQL, Porsche SQL, Python. Some of the script support is Python, PHP, Perl, and other Unix languages. So very centered towards the Unix language and very Linux focused. And now let's look at the differences. So the architecture is based on the Windows architecture, as I said earlier. Cost owned by Microsoft, including a license per user. So when you need a new Windows, you need to add more users, you need to add more money. Security, it's more prone to hacking attempts and cyber threats. So lots of day one architectures, lots of day one threats. Support, common community and long-term customer support, along with great documentation. So basically, you have a problem, you can go to Microsoft and basically ask them, hey, I'm having this problem, what can I do? It's a lot less command line and more graphical user interface. So you have to use that each time you're doing this, and each time you want to try to do something. So if you're not, it's very more friendly to the more beginning friendly users. As I say, user experience is more beginner friendly when you're setting up servers. Database support is Microsoft SQL and Microsoft Access. Some of the scripts is ASP and ASP.NET. These are I would say comparatively, these are a little bit more of a friendly server. It's more UI friendly than Linux would be command line friendly. So each to their own. So advantages of Linux: no additional licensing fees, as the operating systems is free, depending if you want to go more on, but Ubuntu's more reliable. It's rarely experiences malware, cybersecurity threats, or other security threats, because you can use IP tables to limit that and not get any security errors or not any of those security risks. Not demanding on the client hardware and low resource consumption, so it's a little bit easier, less needing beefy PCs to run it. Due to its low interface requirements, it shows excellent performance rates. Very good. System administrators have to have free room and opportunity to customize the system. So basically, you have to always have a system administrator online. Seamless user of open source software on the server. Support corporate work without exposing the program to cores. So basically, very open to the cores. Disadvantages of this is operating via the command lines instead of a GUI requires some learning experience. Not all versions have long-term support, so you may not have support for the version of the Linux server or Ubuntu server you choose. Updating from one major version to another can sometimes be complex. Some third-party and professional programs may not have support or require admin privileges, so it might be a little bit trickier to use. So advantages of Windows: beginner-friendly due to its infrastructure, graphical user interface, and out-of-the-box functionality. Guaranteed 5 years of maintenance plus 5 years of extended support. So Microsoft will do all that support for you, and each will do that. Support third-party applications is compatible with Microsoft applications. Very integrated to the Windows. Requires less monitoring and maintenance thanks to its robust approach and automated updates. So a little bit more updates to that and very open. So disadvantage of this is high cost due to the obligated license fee for the OS. So basically, Microsoft charging an arm and a leg to access it, more prone to malware, cybersecurity threats, and day one threats. Its mandatory GUI makes it more resource intensive. My overall recommendations is go with Ubuntu, and with the Ubuntu, it's very simple to use. It takes time to learn, but once you get the hang of it, you get in there, you work. It has its IP tables. It has many options for blocking connections and keeping systems safe. You can block IP addresses very easily with IP tables. Overall, Ubuntu is the best option to save phase and keep security. And that's all I have. Here's some sources. If you want to look at the sources I've used and what I've used to talk about these servers and all this. Thank you.